Our first session today, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be about designing philanthropy for scale. And as Amit has pointed out, we are honored that Mr. Sunil Munjal is here with us today. He is a joint managing director of Hero Motorcorp and chairman of Hero Corporate Services, and is responsible for developing the growth strategy and implementation of new business plans for the group. He's been the former president of the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII. He's a member of the Prime Minister's Council on Trade and Industry, and has been an active member of boards of various reputed higher education institutes offering engineering and management programs. He has received the Globe Scott Award from the Scottish Government in September 2012. His name has been inscribed on the Royal Society of Medicine's Wall of Honour at London in recognition of his contribution to affordable healthcare as president of the Dayanand Medical College and Hospital, Ludhiana. He is also the Chancellor of BML Munjal University. He is playing a key role in creating this unique and transformative higher education initiative in India. Mr. Munjal is passionate about teaching, which is why he goes out of his way to find time for visiting faculty assignments at leading business schools in India. We request him to please come up on stage and share his viewpoints on designing philanthropy for maximum scale and impact.
Thank you. Amit is a very persuasive guy, as some of you would know. And you were right, by the way. He not only gives himself of his time and money, but he's constantly reaching out to people to remind them what's really important. So thank you, Amit, for your reminders every now and then, and for twisting my arm to come in here today. I think this is a wonderful initiative, so my compliments to all of those who are involved with this. It's really super work that you guys are doing. Our giving was never designed for scale. It was actually not pre-planned at all. As a matter of fact, this is not something we either publicize, talk about, or announce, and which is why it's a little bit difficult for us to kind of put this in as a presentation or pitch this. But I have had occasion over the last few years when we've made some presentations. Earlier, we did one actually for the United Nations, and Madeleine Olson used to be here. So she asked me to come and talk to a group in Delhi. And then she said, if this is what you people do here, I would like that you should come to New York and talk about this in New York. I said, forget it, not a hope in hell. And because that was the first time we actually publicly spoke about what's going on. And the reality is, no one of us in the group actually knows what the entire group is doing. We do not have an organized social sector program. We do this in 3 different ways. One is individuals, since we talked of the family, Amit. Individuals who like to do things by themselves will get involved in areas of their own personal interest. Second, we do this through the individual companies in the group. And third, we do this at the family office level for the entire group of owners and shareholders of this group. And some of these are connected to each other, and many are not. And as I said, there's no real grand plan, but over time it's turned out in a manner that it is built scale. And the areas that we're involved in are education, both high school education as also higher education. We're involved a little bit in innovation, in vocational skills, in clean drinking water, in working with young boys and girls who do not want to go to universities but want to get jobs, in training them not just in the vocation that they choose, but also how to make a better, more productive, more useful, and a more efficient individual of themselves as they start to work. We also work with women, and our special focus here is women in the rural areas, in helping them learn skills in areas of their interest, but going a step or two beyond, We run programs, for example, there are some 6-month programs on stitching, knitting, carpet weaving, making pickles and jams. But besides just this skill, we try and equip them with skills to become entrepreneurs for themselves. The idea being that they should be able to support the family economically more than they're doing, or if they are the only ones who are the main support for the family, they should be able to manage their families. So one of the problems we have in our social structure here is, in most parts of India, if the man in the family dies, runs away, goes away, economically many families just collapse. And it's a big, big issue, which many of us actually don't often think about. So we were tempted to provide the women in these families with the skills. And the ones, for example, who get trained in stitching clothes, then get orders for uniforms from our companies, from our schools, from our universities, etc. So we tried to build this into a virtuous cycle in all the programs that we run. And by the way, we don't write out checks to any other foundations or charities. We like to do things ourselves, almost as a matter of philosophy. We like to do things ourselves, and we like to do them in a manner where we can be involved, our families and friends can be involved, the executives in the companies can be involved, and their families and friends can be involved. Which is why all of the programs that we run are in physical vicinity of any project, program, or company that we run. So we started our company's business, as some of you might know, started with Hero Cycles originally, which was in Ludhiana. So the bulk of the schools actually got set up in Ludhiana. We now have about 30,000 children studying in our high schools. And some of them are designed in a manner to encourage those kids to go to school who would otherwise never go to school. For example, we have a school in Ludhiana, and we have one here in Daruheda in Haryana. The unskilled and semi-skilled labor in Punjab and Haryana is not local. It comes from eastern UP, Bihar, and other parts of the country. So we've been encouraging the workers who normally come by themselves, we've been encouraging them to bring their families, because it actually is very disruptive for families when one of the members of the family goes away and leaves the family behind. So they're actually running 2 homes, and they're hundreds of miles apart. Well, till recently with very poor communication. Now, of course, everybody's got a mobile phone. So we've said, you bring your parents and your kids with you. We will help you through our hospitals to take care of the health of your parents, and we will help you with education of your kids in these schools. So one of these schools was actually designed specifically for children of industrial workers. And I'm saying this for a reason, because it was interesting when we started, I forget now, to some 15 or 18 years ago. Within the first few months, the principal comes to me and says, I've got a serious problem. I said, you just started a new project, what's the problem? And he says, I've got kids who are 3 years old, 4 years old, and 11 years old, and they've never been to school. So which class should they go in? Should they all be in nursery, class 1, or should they be in different classes or different sections in the same class? Well, that was then. But what's happened in this period is an absolute eye-opener. It tells you how much life is really about opportunity. Some of us like to believe we are smarter than others. Frankly, it's the opportunities that we got, I think, which allowed us to do things that we have done. And I think we're all blessed. People like us in this room and millions of others. We live in a country that 250 million people don't get 2 square meals a day. I don't know if we did anything. But I have no clue what we did to be born where we were born, to get the kind of opportunities we got, to get the kind of education we got, to get the kind of friends we got. And last year, the young girl who stood second in the entire board in Punjab is the daughter of a chowkidar of one of our companies, one of the kids who came in and studied in this school. She was second on all of Punjab. The year before that, the young man who stood first was the son of a helper on the machines of one of our companies. And I'm telling you, these are kids who would never ever have gone to school. I'm not saying this to show off, and I'm just telling you what the potential is. We have a nation with absolutely immense, unimaginable potential. And if we can just help spark that potential, I think that's a very valuable thing that any one of us can do. So we've, of course, helped now some of them. We also run colleges. We run a B.Ed college. In fact, I believe the last 5 years, the gold medalist in B.Ed has come from our college every year. We also run an M.Ed college, and we run a teaching hospital in Ludhiana. Our hospital has about 1,750 beds in a single location with 26 super specialties. I'm not sure if it's the largest hospital in India today, but it must be amongst the top 3 or 4 or 5 in terms of scale. The attempt here again is it's a community project. We run this with what I like to call a Robin Hood model. So what we do is, when a patient comes in, we admit them, start the treatment, and then we ask them, do you have insurance on money or not? If you have money, you have to pay. No excuses. If you don't have money, we will find a way to support you. And it works, by the way. There was a little bit of an issue with our managing society and governing board when we first introduced this as a concept. Please come in, Mr. Luthra. When we first introduced this as a concept, there were 2 reactions. Like my dad used to chair this for 30 plus odd years. I got involved some 8 or 10 years ago. And I said, the first thing we have to do is, all of us in the managing society and governing board have to stop taking discounts from this hospital. This is a hospital where we should be giving, not getting anything free. I've never taken one. I know my dad in 30 years never took a discount. Every time you go there, when you're sitting in a hospital, you ask somebody for medicine, it just comes in. You don't even think about it. But we made a process that anything that we get or we take, any service, it should get billed and sent to the office. So some of our members were actually very upset with me. They're saying, but we are the governing board of this hospital. Why should we not get a discount? So I gave them an example of what actually happened. And it was true, it just happened the week before. So I said, my sister, it's actually my cousin, but we all grew up in one house. So I said, my sister called me last week. And she said, Sunil, I have a patient in the hospital. This is a guy who works in Sanjeev's company. Sanjeev is her husband. And can you please help? So I said, what kind of help does he need? She's saying he's been in the heart center and he's got a bill of 75,000. Can you please get some discount? So I said, sure. Please send a payment for 150,000. She's saying, what are you talking about? I just said he's got a bill of 75,000. So I said, can he pay? She said, no, he can't. I said, can Sanjeev pay? She said, of course Sanjeev can pay. So I said, please remember, there are many other patients who come to this hospital who have no Sanjeev to pay for them. So please send 75,000 for this guy and 75,000 for the next guy who has no Sanjeev to support him. And to be fair to her, next day she sent 150,000. So I said, if she's going to give 150,000, why the hell would we let any of you guys go? Why should you get a discount? If anything, I would expect all of you guys would actually help us get some more money to support, improve the quality of service, improve the outcomes, and support those patients who can't afford this. What we also attempted in this college, by the way, I believe it's one of the few medical colleges in India which does not charge a penny of capitation. As some of you might know, capitation fee has become almost a scandal in India. It's gone up from what used to be 2 crores to as much as 4 crores for some of the disciplines now. And we've also, in writing, given away the 50% what is called management quota to the university to admit and send it to us. And the only reason for that is to ensure that the system is actually clean, clear, above board, and is also seen as such by everybody who's involved. We've asked the university, you send us 2 lists. One of all the people who apply to this college, and second to all those that you admit, because the university is admitting even on our behalf. And because we want to make sure it's purely and only on merit and there's no other fudging or hanky-panky going on here. Because in a town like Ludhiana, as you can imagine, everybody knows everybody else. So it becomes impossible. You get calls from all kinds of people for admission in colleges and appointments of doctors. So we've kind of, and we've done this in most of our programs that we run. In the schools, for example, we have a resolution in every one school that we run that even the chairman cannot ask for a single extra seat to be put in any of the schools, any of the classes. The idea being that you may be running a program where you're charging lower fees than other. There's no reason for the quality of outcomes to be any less than the others. And we found that it actually works. By the way, all of these programs are designed to be self-sustaining over time. None of them, and this is something we insist on, none of them should be a program which requires us to fund the operation on an ongoing, continuous basis post break-even. We will fund the capex, we fund losses till the break-even. We also fund capex if they need a large capacity expansion or some modernization, but we will not fund operating costs. So we insist that these run as efficiently as the competition which is for profit in each of these areas, in all of them actually. So Amit asked me to talk about scale. So this hospital, as I said, is now of a size and scale. It's actually become the referral hospital. Outside of Delhi and Northwest, it is certainly the largest. It may be the largest in North India. So any big catastrophe takes place, any big outbreak takes place, this place gets flooded. We run at about 120% occupancy. But to tell you of the quality of services, we have just started a liver transplant program, which will be the first liver transplant program in a private teaching hospital in the country. Our heart center, I believe, outside of Delhi is the most prolific, and I believe the outcomes are the best outside of Delhi in North India. And the doctors tell us that probably is better than the ones here, but these are very high profile ones. Our belief is that it is important to start these with the right spirit and infuse the right philosophy in them. Therefore, it's absolutely critical that the people who get involved in running these also have the same belief. Because if they don't, this is an impossibility. Certainly if you want to build any kind of scale. We've just, for example, started a new university in Haryana, that's just outside Delhi. It's the last district of Gurgaon district, last village of Gurgaon district. This is the first time we actually made a public announcement that we are starting something in amongst our not-for-profit initiatives. Because we called it BML Munjal University, and my dad got very upset with me. He said, "Apne naam pe thodi rakhte hain aisi cheezein." So we had to force him to agree that we would use his name for this university. And the argument we gave was that the best universities in the world are named after people. Actually, if you look at the private universities, the top ones are all named after people. And we have built about 100 innovations in this university, in curriculum, in pedagogy, in design, in master planning, in how the buildings are laid out, in how the classes are laid out. We've actually experimented with a large number of things. This has been designed for 8,000 on campus with a full residential facility, eventually 8,000. It's only started this year. It started with only 280, which I believe is much larger than what many other new universities are starting with. And we are hoping to get to 800 or 900 plus in the second admissions, which will start in the next couple of months. But we also want to be able to impact, support, and influence a much larger number through the outreach programs, through the research programs. So what we are doing here again is it's been set up like in an American university fashion in the sense of earning credits. So we're hoping to give students a very high degree of options for the electives. Of course, the core subjects will grow over time as well. And we made some credits compulsory. The compulsory ones are, the first one is ethics and moral dilemma. Second one is social work. So the reason for making this compulsory is that you have to earn this credit. If you don't earn these credits, you will not get a degree. Another one which is compulsory is soft skills, because you also want to, we were trying to turn this into a nursery for leaders for the future. Not only for India, but leaders for the future, regardless of what walk of life they would choose to go to. So we are insisting that if you're an engineering student, you also must learn some things in the liberal arts. You must either learn some sociology or history or geography or the arts. And the flip side is true as well. For the students who will be in the arts, we insist they should learn some technical subjects. Because for leaders in the world, and even it's true today, if you look at the best leaders across the globe today, they're not necessarily, don't necessarily have a single focus. And we believe that some of these interventions are such that they will in turn create a multiplier. And the way to do scale, I believe, is either to do something of a massive scale yourselves or seed it in a manner that it can go on create a multiplier in society. So one of the tests that we have, by the way, also of setting up new businesses, besides the normal financial criteria, and we did this a few years ago, is that we will only look at new businesses which have a positive social impact. We will only look at businesses which will allow us over time to get into a leadership position, therefore scale becomes essential and necessary. We added one more. We said we will only look at a new business if one of us in the shareholders or the senior management team is passionate about that business. Because none of these things are even possible, remotely possible, unless there is personal passion involved. So thank you very much, and good luck to all of you. Keep on doing what you're doing. That's all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munjal, for sharing a comprehensive perspective on what you and the families are doing together. We know you're short of time, so we'll just ask the audience for 2 quick questions that you might want to ask Mr. Munjal before we allow him to leave.
In executing this kind of a vision and plan, which must have been put in place years ago, I think one of the biggest challenges is how do you get everybody to sign on to your moral code? And what I think I learned in business school was the honor system. So it wasn't all for nothing. So how did you transmit that to the organization, and tell us about that process?
First, there was no grand plan, by the way. There was no big vision to do this. It started off by saying, we need to do the right thing. By the way, we do it because it's selfish, by the way. We enjoy doing it. I have to tell you, one of the reasons we do it is because we actually love doing this stuff. And we are an organization, we are family, which was displaced like millions of others. We became refugees at the time of partition. So many of the family members left very late. Some of them were literally on the last train which came into what became India, and that became Pakistan. So they left everything behind. Home, business, assets, properties came actually and literally with the shirts in their bags. So we believe we were specially blessed that somebody upstairs was looking after us to be able to get where we got in one generation. And this is the least you can do to say thank you. And every morning when you get up, if you think a little bit about this, actually we are completely fortunate. It is unbelievable. We are a 0.001% of this people on this planet to get the kind of opportunities that we have. And if each one of us can help one other, because we live in, as I said, a country where 250 million people are starving, actually. So as a philosophy in the organization, our company started from very, very small beginnings. My dad and his brothers started this company. There are 4 brothers who were in this business. So their personal philosophy, their personal beliefs, it was a religious family. And I mean, I don't mean religious in the sense of going to temples and stuff, but in a value system. Whatever they espoused as the values became the organizational values. And that was very valuable. By the way, it was earlier by instinct, almost by osmosis. Now we've got them written down. Any new employees who join, because there are 30,000 plus people in the organization now, people who join are, as a part of the induction, they're told about these values now. Until recently, we had seen no attrition in our companies. 0. The attrition in our companies used to be actual 0. So most people who join these companies would actually retire from there. But they don't actually retire. They go on. So our schools, each of the school is run by, one of the schools in Louisiana is run by the guy who was head of legal at Hero Cycles. One is run by a guy who was head of procurement. So all of them are involved. Now one of them is now involved in the university right now. A CEO of a plastic injection molding company here runs a program. We run a school in Haridwar as well. So it's a lifelong engagement. What we like to term this is if you go around our organization, you hear the word family over and over again. Amit knows this. He's been around. The whole thing is seen as one large family. So you tend to behave in a certain manner, and that's how you become family. And I think it was more seeing what was going on, and individuals' own desire to do something good, I think, which got a lot of people together. And once you hit some scale, then you actually realize that the impact that you can make with larger scale is order of magnitude higher than you can do if you're doing this at a much, much smaller scale. So it becomes both interesting, exciting, and impactful. I'll take both together.
Thanks. So you made the point that you don't like to hand money out, but you like to be involved with your energy and your money on projects that you're managing directly. And I see where that you're coming from with all the corporate and managerial expertise as well as the passion. It makes sense for you to leverage it in social and developmental causes. So here's the question. So just from a pure diversity point of view, would the big corporate houses in India consider 5, 7, 8% of their total monies for philanthropy into actual giving to others rather than doing it themselves?
I'm glad what you and your family has been doing. I didn't know that, so it's very good I came to. Now, the question I have is, India is humming now. A lot of entrepreneurs are coming into a lot of wealth, but the giving back is not happening as much. It hasn't happened in the past. Wealthy families made some temples or inns, something like. Now, whereas the countries which are most charitable, like US, for instance, the reasons, there are two reasons. One is Christianity is a more charitable type of a religion. And second, primary reason is their tax code, inheritance tax in the US. Is it possible in this new India, which is emerging, that a legislation might be put in place that some part of money as inheritance, which goes to children right now, might be, the tax code, if they design it,
okay, I got the question. Let me get to the answer. So, by the way, part of what you're saying is factually incorrect, but I will just give you my comment. Ravi, to your point, will people actually give money out? I think yes. So what we have done, while I'm saying we don't do any, it doesn't mean we don't do any at all. We funded setting up of the Mohali campus for the ISP. Four families got together, and we funded the entire program for ISB to set up a new, but this is a completely world-class institution. As many of you have been there, you're involved in one manner or the other. And we've also done something experimental. This is the first business school in the world. By the way, I should have mentioned about the university. When we do these things, we're also experimenting every time. The VML Munjal University has the highest experiential learning content in the world. Not in India, in the world, by the way. I believe it's 18 to 20% higher than MIT, which was otherwise considered the highest in the world. And we had no clue. The MIT guys came here and told us that what you guys are doing is what we have been talking of. ISB at Mohali has 4 institutes within the business school focused on areas which are a crying need for India, for other emerging markets, and for the region. So there's one called the Munjal Institute for Global Manufacturing. One is called the Bharati Institute for Public Policy. One is the Max School for Healthcare Management. And the 4th one is the Punjloyd School for Infrastructure Management. All 4 are areas that you need very much. So there is giving going on. But I'll go to the point that he was making. Giving in India is not new. People in India have been giving for centuries. And you are right, they used to give to the temple, they would give to the hospital, what they call the Kharati hospital, the charitable ones, they would give to the school. They would put clean drinking water outside their homes for varied travelers because of the heat you needed it was hard to find clean water. 2 things which held back large giving. One was a social structure, but because in India you spend a lot of effort and time trying to build things for the next generation and the next generation. Whereas in the society that you're talking of, once kids are 16 years old, they have very little connection with the parents. They're off on their own. So the parents' need or concern to hoard things, to build things for the children is actually very little. And the second is, we are a nation which had a 93 or 95% tax rate, income tax rate, by the way. And when you added other taxes, it actually went over 100%. So there was no ability of Indians, either individuals or corporates, to actually accumulate wealth till very recently. So you have already begun to see the early signs of large giving in India. People are giving to educational institutions. I believe there are also museums getting set up now, healthcare institutions. So I don't think this will be very different from the way it is in other parts of the world, because inherently we are all human beings who have a similar empathy to our system and to people around us. But because you did not have the ability, you did not officially have any ability to show, it's a different matter that India started a whole black parallel economy because of the regulation, but nobody really had money to do large giving. And there were also no tax break on giving. So tax breaks are always helpful. And I don't know whether we will get an estate duty or in India. We used to have it, by the way, earlier. And if it comes back at some time in the future, it might make a difference. But I'm not sure that's the real driver for people to give. I think the drive is a little bit different. It comes from inside more than anything else. Those things, of course, help. But it has to be inside you to want to do these things.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munjal, for being with us this evening. We're truly grateful to you. Thank you.
Sorry, and apologize for running late.